Good evening. My name is Yuri. My clean date is December 22nd, 2016. I'm on step 8. I have a sponsor. I have sponsees. Whew. And I'm grateful to be here and be an addict. So I think tonight what I really want to bring is my fire and my desire. And it came from a place of desperation, loneliness, insecurity, fear, doubt. This is so nerve-wracking, but I'm not here because I want to be here. I'm here because I was taught that when a program gives you so much and it allows you to live the life that you get to live, that you have to give back. Well, you don't have to. You get to give back. And so I'm here because I want to give back what was so freely given to me. I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous on April 22nd of 2013. My youth had took me to places that I never thought I would be. I decided that drugs and the street life and criminality and money was more important than being a mom to my 4 beautiful, amazing children. And so I don't really need to get too much into that. You know, I believe we're all here who have experienced that in some way or another. But I do want to identify. I do want to be identifiable. And so I'm just going to try to give a short summary of like what my life up until that point was like and how I got to that point of fear and desperation and uncomfortableness within myself. So I was born in Mexico. When I was 3 years old, my grandpa came from Hillsboro, Oregon. He was working the fields and he was slowly bringing his 14 kids across the border to come live a better life. And my mom had stayed behind. And on one of his trips to go check up on, the kids that were there that were already like married and established, he realized that my mom was struggling with a man who was in his addiction, who was an alcoholic and an abusive. And so at the age of 3, almost 4, he decided to bring my mom and myself across, and he smuggled us illegally through the Rio Grande. And he said, one of the stories that I have really vividly, because I never really felt like I belonged here, because I was told that all the time because of how I looked, how I smelled, how I talked, how I moved, how I dressed, that I didn't belong here and that I needed to go back to where I came from. And at that age, I didn't remember where I came from. I was so little when I got here that I didn't remember what that was like. And so people would call me wetback and say all these mean, evil things to me. And I think that was like the first experience that I had ever got of like not belonging anywhere and not knowing who the fuck I was, because I didn't have a dad. My mom was always working and I was always raised by my aunts, my uncles, my grandparents. And I never really had like any solid person to like talk to me or to like, instill like comfort and security in me. And I remember coming home crying and my grandpa was like, "Why are you crying?" And I was like, "Because they're mean to me and they're telling me to go back to where I came from." And he was like, I said, "Grandpa, they're calling me a wetback." And he said, "What?" He didn't know English, so he's like, "What's a wetback?" And I said, "Espalda mojada." And he's like, "Tú nunca te mojaste." He was like, "You never got wet." And I was like, "What?" So my grandpa was like, we were at the river and everybody was crossing and swimming across the river, and I had to hand your mom all the stuff I was carrying because you were the last one and you didn't want to get in the water. And so I had to carry you on my shoulders so you wouldn't get wet. So he said, when they tell you that, you tell them that you're not a wetback. It's funny now, but at that time it wasn't funny because that was one of the very first vivid memories that I have of like not fucking belonging. I was a foster care kid. My stepdad was not kind to me. And I remember in 6th grade, I had ran away and I had told somebody and they went and, snitched me out to their mom, like why I was there. And DHS came to the school, and I remember looking out the window and seeing my mom's car pull up. And I remember her walking into the office, and I remember Like, I felt like a whole decade went by. And then I remember her walking out and leaving. And I never went back with her. I never left with my mom, like, as hers ever again. And that was really hard, because I didn't know English. I didn't know, like, American culture. I was not, like, I didn't live in structure. Like, I didn't have a bedtime. I didn't fucking eat ham and cheese sandwiches. I didn't know English. And so, thank you. And so, you know, that was another experience that I had, right? Of like, I'm not good enough and I don't belong. And I remember always running away from my foster homes because the people didn't speak Spanish, and they didn't have fucking tapatio, and they didn't fucking give me eggs for breakfast, and they didn't make fucking homemade tortillas, and they didn't have no fucking salsa, and like they wanted to give me oatmeal and cereal and shit, you know, and that wasn't me. True story. And so, through the experience of not feeling welcomed or wanted and needed, I sought the validation of the streets. There was a lot of gang members out at night when I used to sneak out, you know, and I started kicking it with them and got introduced to the drug life. You know, I got introduced to drinking. Well, actually, no, that's a lie. I got introduced to drinking with my family because my family drank all the time. Like my grandpa, that was his thing. He always drank. So I had sipped on drinks here or there, you know, like as a little kid at parties, unsupervised. But like I got introduced to hardcore drugs on the streets. And I got this sense of like, oh, fuck, I belong. You know, if I was just down to do whatever they were down to do, like I belong, because then they would want me there. And back then, like, I was a big tomboy. Like, I hid my body. I didn't want anybody to know that I was a girl, so I would try to, like, keep up with the boys, you know? So I had my foster care as, you know, experience. And then at 15, I got pregnant at 14. And I remember completing 9th grade. And I remember that by the time I had finished 9th grade, I was already pregnant. I didn't know it. And at the time I was living with one of my uncles and his girlfriend. She was like a hardcore gangster girl, and she was like, no, you're not going to be in foster care no more. We're taking you. And they fucking took me in, you know, and she made sure that I went to school. She would fucking put shelves and all kinds of shit at the door so I wouldn't like run away and leave. She was hardcore, and she kept me in line, you know, but she brought her brother to live at the house, and her brother, you know, knew my vulnerabilities. He knew, like, that I was lonely, that I was, you know, that I was vulnerable. And he took, I don't want to say advantage because I had a willing part, but in a way he did take advantage of that, because that's not really what, at the time, I wanted, but I just felt like I needed to be accepted. And so, I ended up getting pregnant. And instead of them making me like go to school and finish school, like they were like, okay, well, you're grown now, so now you got to pay rent, you know, at 15. So you're going to watch all these kids, and that's how you're going to pay rent. And so I didn't go back to school. Then we moved to Washington, and I had more kids. And all I remember, oh, this is a cool story. Before I went into foster care, in my ESL class, I was hella smart. Like, I was really good at math, I was really good at science, and I was intrigued by all that shit. So the facilitators saw that, and so they said, oh, Oregon's got this thing for ESL students, like, we're going to have you apply, and you're going to get to go to Huntsville, Alabama. If they pick you, they were going to pick 2 students from 4th, 5th, 6th grade, all the way up into 12th grade to go. And so I was like, yeah, right, they're not going to pick me out of the whole fucking state. Who's going to pick me, right? But I did it anyways because they were doing all the work, and I was just like, yeah, okay, yeah, it's cool, whatever. But I ended up getting picked, and I found out when I was in foster care. And so I got to go that summer when I turned 12, when I was already in foster care. And I got to experience the U.S. Naval Space Camp in Huntsville, Alabama. I got to get on a plane. I started my woman thing out there, and the girls like surrounded me and loved me and helped me through it. They bought me this really cool jacket. And then funny story about my name. So my name is Yuri, pronounced like the letter U and the letter D. Okay? Yuri. Don't fuck how it's spelled, Y-U-R-I. Forget about it. Letter U, letter D. And the reason I'm so adamant about that is because my mom, when she would take me to this daycare it was like a church, and there were no racial, but there were white ladies, and they didn't know how to say Yuri, so they started calling me Judy. So up until 5th grade, I thought my name was Judy, Judy. And I remember this aunt, the gangster ass, she was like, "You're not Judy, you're Yuri. And I used to be like, I don't fucking know. But in 5th grade, I got checked on it because I was doing my state exams that they do. And they were like, "You need to put your real name." I'm like, "What's my fucking real name?" And they're like, I didn't say fuck, but I was like, "What's my real name?" And they're like, "Yuridia." And I was like, oh my God, my mom only calls me that when I'm in trouble. And they're like, "Well, that's what you need to put down." And I didn't even know how to spell it. They had to show me how to spell it. And I was embarrassed because everybody was fucking laughing at me, right? Like, who the fuck am I? Like, I didn't even know who the fuck I was. Like, at this point, it was just like, I don't even know who I am. And so I come home and I ask my mom, and she's like, "Well, that's what they called you there." So I just went with it. And I'm like, "But why would you have me thinking I'm Judy my whole life?" And I'm like, I was telling her, like, I'm fucking Mexican. Like, what the hell? Funny story. So anyways, I don't know how I got to that, but that was another thing that, I had issues with, like identification, right? Like, who the fuck am I? So I was a fucking teenage mom. I didn't go to school. I had 4 kids. I moved to Washington, and then my baby's dad's like, he's like a responsible user. He's using all the time. I start working at the family business restaurant, at 19, and I get introduced to meth with his sister, and like, all the shit, right? Because I'm good. I'm taking care of my kids. We have a family. We have a house. On the external, all the shit looked good. Everything was looking good. And then I know this is really funny, but like, Oprah raised me. And what I mean by Oprah raised me is that I would watch Oprah because she would talk about like feelings and like how to not be like an abusive parent and like all this shit that I didn't fucking have no idea about because nobody ever taught me shit. Like, everything I ever learned in my life, I learned on my own. And so I remember there was this book, she was like on her book thing, and it was like Awakening to Your Life Purpose. And it started making me feel like, what is my life purpose? Like, this can't be it. Like, I'm not going to fucking die with 4 fucking kids, not doing shit, working at a restaurant where, like, the sister who's a meth head is, like, my manager, and the son who's, like, a cheater and never home with his kids. Like, this cannot be it for me. Like, this cannot be my whole fucking life. So I started reading this book, and I started feeling like God was telling me that I had a purpose in my life. And so I decided that I was going to leave him, that I was going to leave with my kids, and that I wasn't going to work at this restaurant anymore. And on my kids at school, they had asked me to translate. And the lady was like, "You should come work for us. We have a job for you. Wooty wooty." I'm like, I didn't even finish 9th grade. And she's like, "It's okay. All you got to do is take this test. And you have enough time before summer to get it done. And by the time school starts, you can work. Like, the job is yours. Like, all you got to do is just say yes." So I quit working at the restaurant. My baby daddy was stressed the fuck out because it comes to turn out I was doing a fucking lot there. And then now these motherfuckers had to start working, right? And they didn't like it. So I found out, like, he was cheating on me. I find out, like, all this fucked up shit. And I was just like, I'm fucking done, And so my plan was, I'm going to get my first check from my job. I'm going to get into this apartment. I'm going to leave, and we're going to have Sunday dinners together. That's not how it fucking worked. A whole bunch of fucked up shit happened, and we ended up leaving on bad terms. He ended up getting restraining orders on me and all some more punk ass shit. So what happened was that all of that I had planned for us to do to be able to keep our family intact and keep the relationship and co-parent went out the fucking window. And when this happened, because his family had money and he had a good support system, like with his mom, and I was out there by myself, everybody that I knew that was in my support left me because I either met them through the restaurant or I met them through him. And so money talks and bullshit walks. They rather be with the person that's getting paid, right, than with the nothing, right? Like, I left literally with the clothes that I was wearing and the car that I had financed on my own. Like, that's it. And he ended up getting the kids. I ended up like moving in with my friend and just being a bum, but still working, right? Like still working at the school. I was an assistant. And I passed the test and I got to, get my little job. I was a special ed peer support, which is weird because I'm peer support now. But for like the kids in special ed in the middle school. And for 2 years, I had to go to treatment. For 2 years, like, I had to do all this shit that allegedly I was, like, this horrible, bad person because, like, shit got really ugly, And one day I decided, you know what? I don't want to quit smoking weed. I'm still going to smoke weed. So I started smoking weed again. I started to have to make ends meet, and I figured out a way to do that. And I had caught a little case. Not while I was with the kids, but when it was my days off, right? Because I needed to pay for my apartment. I wouldn't get any government assistance. He got like $900 in food stamps and would never bring me food. He was like really just like, you're going to suffer. Like, I'm going to make this hard for you. And he did. And then, so when that happened, I caught a case and I couldn't pick up my kids. We had I would have them Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and every other Saturday and Sunday, and I couldn't pick them up, so I had to call them to tell them I wasn't going to be there, and their dad was like, you'll never see them again, and at that point, I was just done. I was done fighting. I was done trying to prove myself. I was done trying to prove that I was a good mom, and I was tired of not having anybody, like my family didn't come and show up for me at court. Like, I didn't know that there was like help for me, My baby's dad always made me believe that I was an illegal amigo and that I would never get no help and like that there was no services for me, right? And like the first thing he would always say to me was like, I'm going to call immigration if you show up here and try to get these kids. I'm going to do this and I'm going to get you deported. And like, bro, I hadn't been to Mexico since I was fucking 10. Like, what the fuck? Who do I know in Mexico, Like, I was 10 the last time I was there. I couldn't even, fathom, having to be in Mexico away from my kids. So, when this happened and he told me that, there was no more fight in me. And that's when shit really got bad for me because the pain and the desperation of having to be a full-time mom from the age of 15 to almost damn near 26, 27 was it was unbearable. Like, that pain was unbearable, and I didn't know what to do. There wasn't a part of me that was like, go seek this resource, and then go, talk to this people, and then, go hang out at church, and, none of that. There was nothing. I felt like I had nobody, and I had nothing. And all those feelings of, I don't belong, and I ain't shit, and I'll never be shit, hit me like a bag of bricks, and I was done. And so I knew what I knew, right? When I was 12, I could forget about how I'm in foster care. I could forget about how my fucking mom doesn't want me. I could forget about how, my fucking dad ain't around. I could forget about that when I would pick up and get high. And that's exactly what the fuck I chose to do. I chose to stay alive by getting high. And that shit worked for a little while. It really did, It helped me to eat. Well, not always, but sometimes. It helped me to want to live for something, but I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to fucking live life on life terms. I didn't know how to open up my mouth to get help because, see, all my fucking life, I had did everything alone. All my life, I had did everything alone. So, fast forward to 2013, desperation hits me. I want to see my kids. I call that motherfucker, and I'm like, I'm done. What do I need to do? And he tells me about, do you want to do recovery here or in Portland? Portland? What the fuck? I left Portland in 97. The fuck am I going to go do over there? My family don't fuck with me, for what? And I just said, I don't care. And, let me get myself right. Fire and desire. Fire and desire for this program. That's what I'm trying to bring. In 2013, I was fucking damn near dead, in psychosis, ready to give up on it all. And somehow, some way, I ended up on a train. I ended up in Portland, Oregon. I ended up getting picked up by members of Narcotics Anonymous and taken to my first meeting, which was Here and Now, 10 o'clock meeting. I heard the most powerful shit that I had ever heard in my whole entire fucking life. That I will be unafraid. My thoughts will be on my new recovery, people who are not using and who have found a new way of life. So long as I follow that way, I have nothing to fear. And that got me. That got me. Now, if you guys are like me, into math, it doesn't add up, right? Doesn't. In 2000, so I was a month away from getting 2 years clean. I was at the Estates. I had graduated. I was probably one of the people that was in the mentor program the longest because I'm an illegal amigo and I needed to get my green card. And that shit took some time, and they worked with me on that. But I was doing clean and safe. You know, I would fucking clean. Oh, man, I was so proud of my job. I would clean from the fucking Greyhound station all the way to PSU, and I'd chop it up with everybody, and I'd wipe down the cans and clean up the shit and all of that. I was on my way to being an on-call fucking person and, you know, being CCC. That was going to be me. Unfortunately, though, I decided to go to my nephew's birthday and got in the car with my sister who was drinking. And a month before my 2 years, I relapsed. And after that, I couldn't get it back together. It took me a while. I got pregnant with my daughter, had a kid, started using again, you know. So I'm here back from a couple relapses. So if you've relapsed and you don't know what the fuck you're doing, you're welcome, you're wanted, and you're needed. God has a plan and a purpose for you, and don't give up on yourself because I didn't. And what I know about this last time is I found you guys. I found myself. I found the willingness. I found the honesty. I found the spiritual principles that would give me everything that I ever needed. And there's nothing more that I can say besides like the gratitude that I feel for where I'm at today is immeasurable. It's undescribable. There is no fucking words in the English dictionary as my second language that I can find to articulate what the fuck this feeling feels like, that I am clean today, that I am here on a Saturday night with a bunch of people not getting high. That is a fucking miracle in itself. Never in my life did I ever believe that this would come true for me. I'm not like anything special. Like, we all got it. You just have to open up your spirit, open up your mind, open up your heart, and get that willingness to get outside of yourself, to give yourself a chance to follow the suggestions. If you don't know what some of those are, I'll let you know because I like telling how it worked for me. Get yourself a sponsor. Work steps with your sponsor. Get yourself a home group. For those of you who don't know, a home group is a place where you can go and you can get to know somebody and they can get to know you. So when the fuck you don't know what the fuck is going on, they can be like, hey, are you okay? Be of service to your home group. Show up to your business meeting. Have a fucking voice. Fucking greet. Do the coffee. Whatever. I did that for a long time and it kept me clean. But most importantly, start with the literature. What I'm saying up here is just a fucking mess, okay? Let's keep it real. It's a mess. But what is in here is the message. Here's the real message. All of the shit that I'm talking about, all of the shit that you guys are like, oh my gosh, I love how she said that. It's not me. That's not me. That's not me. It's the program. It's Narcotics Anonymous. It's the literature. I'm going to open it randomly, and whatever the fuck is supposed to be heard, that's what you're going to hear. It's the gist for today. That's fucking crazy. Because that's what I already told you guys, right? It's the last literature that you're going to hear after every meeting. It's the shit that when you're out there, because in here it's easy. It's easy for me not to want to get high. It's fucking easy. Like, doesn't even cross my mind. You know when the fuck I want to get high? When my son is tearing up my fucking plants. When my son is shitting on my fucking carpet. When my daughter is talking back. When the person in line is taking too fucking long. That's when I need the fucking program. That's when I need this literature. That's when I need the spiritual principles. That's when I need some shit. Not when I'm in here. This is easy peasy. Easy. So, this is crazy because you guys are going to hear this at the end of the meeting. So I'm not even going to read it, but just tell yourself that it's just for fucking today. Okay? Because fuck what you've been through. Fuck what you've done. Fuck like all those people that said this, that, or how you felt about it. Don't fucking matter. And then what you're going to do, who cares? Who even knows if I'm like, after I leave here, if I'm even going to get to tomorrow? Like, for reals, all you got is the fucking present moment that you're in at every time of the day, at every time. Like, you don't have nothing else. Like, you don't. The only thing you have is the present moment. So stay present. Like, it's a gift for a reason. Yes. And how much time do I got? 5 minutes? Oh, that was a quick five. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go to another one because the one which is crazy because it's my favorite one, the gist for today. All right, here we go. Because, listen, everything that I said, yeah, it was cool, whatever, and I hope you guys, I truly, genuinely, from the bottom of my heart, hope that God used me to, like, translate a message of recovery. I hope I brought the experience, the strength, and the hope, but really, what really is where it's all that is in here, trust and believe, okay? Recovery begins with surrender. Yeah, like, I give up, like, throw in the fucking towel. It's done. From that point, each of us is reminded that a day clean is a day won. In Narcotics Anonymous, our attitudes, thoughts, and reactions change. We come to realize that we are not aliens. Ooh, I am not a fucking alien. I'm a human being. Build yourself a connection with the power that's greater than yours. This is the kind of shit they're going to do for you. Trust. Wow. And begin to understand and accept who we are. Done that. As long as there have been people, addiction has existed. For us, addiction is an obsession to use the drugs that are destroying us, followed by a compulsion that forces us to continue. Complete abstinence is the foundation of our new way of life. Complete abstinence. That means like, oh, I'm just going to go take a shot and I'll be all right. No, the fuck you won't. You going to wake that beast up that's in your head doing push-ups. That's not mine either. I heard it somewhere. So, yeah. In the past, there was no hope for addicts. In the past, there was no hope for me. So I thought. In Narcotics Anonymous, we learned to share the loneliness, the anger, the fear that addicts have in common and cannot control. You cannot control that shit. So give it up. Talk about it. Reach out and touch somebody. Our old ideas are what got us into trouble. Right? Like, I'm going to be the next Griselda Blanco. No, the fuck you're not. You ended up in jail. The fuck? No, you didn't. No. You didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. Keep it real. We weren't orientated toward fulfillment. We focused on the emptiness and the worthlessness of it all. Sure the fuck did. Who the fuck are you to tell me what the fuck to do? Do you know who I am? My own mom and dad don't tell me what the fuck to do. Who are you? Right? Like that, like entitlement and shit. Yeah, all of that. Worthlessness. That's what I was feeling. It was a mask that I wore. And the only reason that I learned to take it off was because I was willing to do some fucking step work. I got a sponsor that I could trust and that I could sit with and get through all this shit. Whew, fire and desire. I hope you can feel it. We could not deal with success. So failure became a way of life. In recovery, failures are only temporary setbacks rather than links in an unbreakable chain. Honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness to change are all new attitudes that help us to admit our fault and to ask for help. We are no longer compelled to act against our true nature and do the things that we don't really want to do. I didn't want to do none of this shit. I didn't want to fucking show up to meetings and get my meeting slip shine. I didn't want to show up to group and talk about my feelings. I didn't want to do none of this shit. I just want everybody to leave me the fuck alone. But you know what? I had to do that. I had to do that to get to be exactly where the fuck I am right now. And let me tell you guys, I wish I had a whole motherfucking hour because I wish I could get into some shit right now. But I don't, and that's okay because I already know the next speaker is going to bring that fire and that desire, man, because I could feel higher power in the room today. I could feel all of your guys' energy. I could feel your love. I could feel, your desperation to want to be better every moment and every day. And that's what Narcotics Anonymous gives us. I'm not special. I just followed some suggestions. I just fucking read the book. I just got a sponsor. I just go to my fucking home group once a week, even when I don't want to. Even when the kids are driving me crazy shit, I fucking show up with them and fuck it if they're running around and being loud. I don't care because guess what? I know that I need Narcotics Anonymous, and I have experienced that Narcotics Anonymous will go on without me. There's people in this room that at some point in my recovery, I had more clean time than, and they have more clean time than me. So I already know this program will thrive and it will survive without me. But I can't survive and I can't thrive without Narcotics Anonymous. So I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be a messenger of hope. I'm grateful that my higher power seen it fit for me to live another fucking day because this is where it's at. If you're here, you're welcome, you're wanted, you're needed. Congratulations to everybody who took clean time, man. We are fucking miracles. And I hope that the journey fucking continues for everybody, man, because a day clean is a day one.